Okay, Chair, we're live. We can make a start.
Lovely, thank you, Charlotte. Good evening and welcome to the North Strategic Neighbourhood Forum. The forum is made up of elected members of the council. I am Councillor Bowerman, Chair of the North Strategic Neighbourhood Forum. This is a public meeting and is being webcast to the public. Members of the public watching the meeting can submit questions to the forum throughout the meeting using the form on the right or below the webcast, depending on your device. Only questions relating to items on the agenda will be accepted. You can find the agenda available to download underneath the webcast. When submitting your question, please leave your name and the agenda item or the subject matter that your question relates to. At the end of each item, members of the forum will ask questions, followed by any questions that have been submitted from the members of the public. Before we begin, could I please ask that everyone mutes their microphones when not speaking in order to reduce background noise and interference. Please can members ensure that their video camera remains on for the duration of the meeting. Thank you. Has everyone got the agenda? We can start off with the first item, which is apologies for absence, please, Charlotte.
Yeah, Councillor Brain, Councillor Choksky, Chair.
Thank you for that. Minutes of the last meeting have been held and accounted for. Item 3 is the enhanced childcare offer. So we're going to receive a presentation from the Assistant Director of Children's Services, I think it is, and that's Ms. Deborah Myers. Thank you, Deborah.
Thank you. I'm just going to share my screen. So let's hope this works. Can everybody see my screen, which they should be able to see a PowerPoint just filling it with no other bits around the edges? Is that all right?
Yeah, we can see it, Deborah. Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you, Councillor Bowman. So my item tonight, the first item is around the various childcare support offers that are available. This is really important for our communities and for residents, because what this does is describe the comprehensive package of support that's available, and that will really help our children to engage in activities to promote their learning as early as possible, but also supporting parents and carers to continue with employment or enter the workforce once again. So the childcare support expansion offer effect this last April, where 15 hours of childcare was available for children aged 2 and over. And that was for eligible families who were working in England. Each parent to earn at least the equivalent of 16 hours national minimum wage or under £100,000 net income a year. And the child must be turning 2 on or before the 31st of March. Interestingly, with all of the childcare offers, it's about how many hours childcare is available over the 38-week period, but that can be totaled up over the number of hours per year, and it is really flexible. So you'll see on the one that came into effect in April this last year, that is 570 hours per year, and it can be, when I say flexible, it means that parents and carers can split it across more than one childcare provider, which is really important actually if they're looking for a combination, or if one provider can't necessarily accommodate the children 5 days a week, if that's indeed what they're looking for. From September coming up, there is 15 hours childcare available for children 9 to 23 months. So that's prior in age range to the age that was launched in April of this year. Again, eligible working families, again, the same amount of income under £100,000 or 16 hours a week at minimum wage. For this one, the children need to be aged between 9 and 23 months, 15 hours childcare over the 38 weeks, which is during school term time, and then 570 hours per year. And then, excitingly, from September 2025, which will really help our residents and our communities, excuse me, again, the same age range of 9 to 23 months. All the same criteria, except this one's 30 hours a week over 38 weeks, which totals just over 1,100 hours a year. All can be used flexibly across multiple childcare providers. Now, we're also looking at how we can support our families with before school and after school with wraparound care. So we've recently submitted a bid to the Department of Education for support for that extended wraparound care for children who need it to be able to access that before and after school provision. And that's 8 o'clock in the morning to 6 o'clock at night. Now, our comprehensive wraparound offer. So what we've been doing is working with schools to look at how we can extend that, how we can support schools who don't currently put wraparound in place to introduce it. And if they've got wraparound in the morning for a breakfast club, but not in the after school, looking at how we can do that, or vice versa. And we've just submitted the bid for initial 700 places for that wraparound. Now, we are really hopeful that we're going to get that, and we've had some really positive feedback. But I can't guarantee anything, as members will quite rightly know. So as soon as we get the information of whether or not that's been agreed, then we'll certainly communicate that out. In addition, promote some existing childcare support packages as well. So just a reminder here for members and for residents that the tax-free childcare that's available is for working families, and that includes self-employed. Often these things don't include self-employed people, but the childcare tax-free childcare does. Again, earning under £100,000 or at least £183 a week. They can't be receiving tax credits, universal or childcare vouchers to be eligible for this. And the children need to be between the ages of birth and 11 years old, or if they've got a disability, up to 16. This is a really good scheme because for every £8 that's paid into the online account, up to £2,000 per child per year, or £4,000 if a child is disabled. So that makes it a really good scheme for families. Again, going back to that self-employed, something that's really valuable there as well. Now, it can be accessed through registered providers and childminders, but they must have activated what's called their childcare, tax-free childcare accounts. And if that hasn't happened and somebody's interested in accessing that, then we can help with pointing people in the right direction through our family hubs or through our early years teams. We've also got the universal credit childcare, and that's for working families who are claiming universal credit. Both parents need to be working unless one of them has the allowable exemptions that's been met. Children are under 17, and that includes disabled children, and up to 85% of eligible childcare costs can be reclaimed. So with this one, it needs to be paid up front, and then there's a reclaim process in place. To kickstart that first session, and something called a working coach is available. So some really good schemes there. The last slide I've got on this is looking at some additional childcare packages. The first one, the 15 hours I described on that very, very first slide. And then we've got 15 hours for children 3 and 4. For families with 3 and 4-year-olds, 570 hours per year. And then from September and then we've also got 30 hours as again, and that's for working families. So the 15 hours is for all families, and the 30 hours is for working families. Same criteria as I've described previously around income, around the number of hours, around the flexibility, and some really, really valuable schemes there that can help with our residents and our communities, both from a school readiness perspective, but also from a getting back into the workplace perspective as well. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Deborah. Yes, those sound really good childcare support packages for the future as well. Is there any questions or comments, anyone you want to say? I think we've still got your packages up, Deborah, for us to say.
I was just going to try and take them down while I'm fiddling with other things.
We've got Councillor McLaren, Chair, wants to ask a question.
Oh, thank you. Yes, go ahead, Councillor McLaren.
Yeah, hi. Thanks, Deborah. That was really informative. Just one quick question. Reading around this subject, I'm not an expert in this area, not by any stretch, but I understand there may be issues with being able to find the qualified staff and the resources to provide this additional care. And I understand that there is a possibility that those people who are already within the scheme will benefit tremendously from this, but it might be harder for people who want to join the scheme. I just wondered whether you had any facts or your obviously lived experience that could educate me in this regard.
Yeah, and there's been a lot on the news about it as well, hasn't there, about government introducing various schemes, and then sometimes the childcare providers aren't necessarily available in the locality. What we've been doing is working with those providers, and that's one of the reasons why we're looking at that additional 700 places on the wraparound care to help support the system. Obviously, much of this is with the independent private voluntary sector, and they're businesses in their own right. And what we always do is try to support those businesses through our early years teams to make sure that we've got the right provision that we need across the local authority. And we can't do we can't suddenly conjure businesses up, but what we can do is make sure that they're well supported, make sure that the right tools are in place, and look at our numbers across the system. What's not coming to us at the moment is any concerns about we want a place but we can't find one, because our teams will work with families to find those places. And I think the bit I said about the flexibility, about different providers, is really key to this, because a family might find that there's a provider that can support their child or their children for, say, a couple of days a week or a couple of sessions a week, but they might not be able to take them for the full 5 days. And that's about whether or not it's a suitable option to look at that flexibility across a number of providers. And obviously, that's got drawbacks and it's got benefits. Actually, there's a huge benefit for me in that, thinking about school readiness, thinking about children socializing, mixing with different groups. So I think there's a lot of benefits in not just always having that same provider wherever that might be available. So we do what we can. We've certainly worked with our families. Our family hubs can support and can direct towards suitable provisions as well. So we do keep a full directory. And if we do have anybody that says we can't find a place, I'd really encourage you as members to talk to your ward members and direct them back to our services so that we can help them find those suitable provisions.
Thank you, Deborah. I think it is key, isn't it, that we approach your team and get this advice that these people need, that don't know where to go because they can't get a place. So yeah, that's excellent. Any other questions or comments of Deborah? Anyone? No, I think that's excellent presentation. Thank you very much, Deborah. Yeah,
thank you.
Are you on the next one?
I'm the next one as well, which is why I left my slides up, because I've put the next slide deck up. Okay.
Thank you, Deborah.
Thank you. So I'm really excited about this. It's a really good news story. So on the 3rd of July, we launched our Tameside Send local offer. And the local offer is a website or a provision that's available for children, young people, families, parents, carers, for children and young people with special educational needs and disabilities. And what the local offer does is promote and direct parents, carers, families towards the various services, information, advice, support and guidance that they might need for a whole raft of things that can help them. So this has been a significant amount of time in the making. There's been a lot of work gone into it, and this is across the partnership. So this isn't about Tameside Borough Council. We are a contributor and we are hosting, but actually it's about that whole local area partnership, which includes our health colleagues, our care colleagues, our private voluntary independent sector, families, parents, carers, etc., and a whole raft of other voluntary organisations where families might be able to find some support with various activities. That this particular departure, if you like, this new local offer is always current. And so what you will find when I open it up and show you some of the sample slides and a lot of the information links back to the providers' sites. And we've done that on purpose because I think one of the pitfalls when you're developing something like this that's got a multi-agency approach on it is that as soon as a piece of paper, and I say that in inverted commas, goes up on the web, then if it changes somewhere along the line, sometimes all the different places it happens to sit doesn't always get changed at the same time. So what we were really keen to do with this to make sure is it always current. So we've got somebody monitoring it and updating it. And what we've done is made sure that we're not putting out information that can go out of date. And that's why it feeds back to the source of the information, so that when a provider, if we take health, for example, is promoting something on their site and it's linked to the local offer, we make sure that our residents can access that most local and up-to-date information possible. So the local offer is designed for children and people 0 to 25. The website address is on that front slide. And if you're thinking about, gosh, that's a really bright colour, there is also the option on a little tiny tab when you get into the website to tweak it to calm colours, and it goes various shades of muted pastels, which is really rather nice. Now, there's a lot of consultation gone on over the 2 years of the development to get to this point of the local offer. And it's iterative. It's going to be developed all the time. We're going to be updating it all the time. But what we've made sure of is it's accessible to everybody. So the SEND code of practice states what needs to be on the local offer. We've made sure that we are compliant there. This has been a piece of work that's been done right the way across the partnership. We've put it into easy to access and easy to understand areas. So we've got an area on early years and education. We've got an area on health and well-being, and we've got an area on social care as well. And so all of these all this information has got hyperlinks. So in the advice, information and support, that's where you can click on any of those tabs and you should be redirected to the information that's either on the site because it's owned by the site or to the partners. We've put this on a web platform that isn't the council's main web platform. There's a link in the council's main website if you look under local offer towards this, but this is being hosted separately. And we've done that for a reason, and so that it's more easily accessible and more readily available for our communities. So as you can see, we've got information on our family hubs, the various support that parents, carers can access. There's information there on financial support. SEND IAS is the Special Educational Needs and Disabilities Independent Advice and Support Service. So that's at arm's length to the local authority and needs to be independent to the local authority, but links back and provides all of those service signpostings, if you like. We've got the Family Information Service, Tameside Carers, Service Information Directory, really important for our young people moving into adulthood as well, about transport and travel, and that's an important section there. Short breaks, commissioned short breaks, really important. Childline is a link there, our health mentors and our children with disabilities team as well. So I hope you will find that useful to be able to promote. We've got a full communication strategy that's going alongside that. So we're making sure that it's been on our social media channels. There's a really comprehensive package of support there. And for our families, parents, carers, young people, children, especially as we are in the middle of the first week of the school holidays for our primary and second week for our secondary. There's also information there on some of the networks, the different clubs and activities, and then they can access that to see what's happening in and around Tameside, what you might be able to access, where you might be able to go, and some of the more exciting things to help our children and young people get out and about in communities, and importantly build their confidence as well, and do things that are different and get a bit active. Thank you.
Thanks very much, Deborah, for that. It's quite a comprehensive list, isn't it, of help that our parents can access.
Yeah.
So is there any questions or comments from Sarah, please? No, I think
Joyce,
yes.
okay, I'll come in. Yeah, I just want to, the reason why I'm just coming back from a short holiday, that's why I really wanted to come in on this. I just want to echo what Deborah said. I think one of the things we've probably been okay at doing some of this stuff, but what we haven't done is actually we haven't told, getting the message out, and also engaging our partners. And I do think the partnership at the moment is probably as strong as it's been, and probably getting stronger. And I think it's so, despite what you might be reading at the moment as well, there's a little bit of negativity which I found out about yesterday. We are trying to actually go to every corner of Tameside for those that actually need assistance, and the offers are there. And this is really why it's important it comes to this meeting. So basically, ward members, are aware of what's going on. I mean, I know your ward chair. There's plenty going on down in St. Peter's there. And as Deborah said, there's plenty going on across the summer as well. When it can be quite tricky for families to, with the pressures of school holidays and things. I heard something yesterday that there's I think the parents are going on holiday when the kids go back to school. They have a day party apparently. but seriously, I do think there's a lot of pressures on families, during some holidays, and those obviously that have other difficulties, is having that support that's there. And I do think it's important that we're actually trying to engage with everybody now, not just a certain few in Tameside. That's all I want to say, Chair. And obviously, I'm happy to answer any questions as well.
Thank you, Councillor Fairfowl. Yeah, I know Andrew, Councillor McLaren wanted to come in on something. So if you go ahead, Councillor McLaren.
It was just to repeat really what Bill's been saying. I mean, without giving anything away about the scrutiny panels and all that, it's pretty obvious all the work that's going on and all the hard work. But also it's educational for me to see these websites that Deborah illustrated, which no doubt Bill's had a lot of input into, because I know nothing about this subject. And when I'm asked a question as a councillor, I think it's really important to at least be able to signpost people. So I'm very impressed with it, actually. And I'm sure it works. If it works as well as you say it's going to work, and I'm sure it will, then that's fantastic. So well done.
Yeah, thank you, Councillor McLaren. I think it's just getting the message out, isn't it, to our people, our residents, and then make them aware of all this good work that is going on, like Councillor Fairfowl said. So well done. Thank you very much, Deborah. Any other questions or comments, anyone? No? Well, thank you very much, Deborah. Please give our regards to your excellent team.
We will do. Thank you.
This evening, yeah.
And thank you for having me. I'm going to leave now.
I was going to say, I don't think you're on the next one, are you?
No, no.
Thank you very much, Debbie. Have a good evening.
Thank you. Bye-bye. Bye-bye
now. And on to item number 4, I think it is. And we've gone to the send. It's the Ashton Mayoral development. And I think, is it yourself, Nicola, that's dealing with this? Lovely. Thank you very much, Nicola. Go ahead.
Let me share my screen with you.
Good evening, Nicola, as well.
Thank you very much. Good evening to you too. Let's get this in full screen mode. Is it? There we go. Can you all see that all right? I hope you can. Okay, so I've come to present to you sort of about the Ashton Mayoral Development Zone, which is clearly a really exciting opportunity for the borough and in particular for Ashton. So the Mayoral Development Zone brings together a number of partners that sit on a board essentially. So it's GMCA, it's Homes England, Transport for Greater Manchester, obviously ourselves, and then we have representation from the private sector. The zone, there are other zones and corporations around Greater Manchester. We're not the only one, although we are one of very few. But we are a zone rather than a development corporation, which is what Stockport have. So I think it's really important to note we're not a kind of legal entity. This is a coming together of the public sector. And we have a board and it's not decision making. So the council still retains the ability to make the decisions about the projects within its borough. What the board does, what the zone does, is provide that level of scrutiny, if you like, and advice and guidance to bring development within the zone forward. So it is about pooling our expertise. It is also about raising the profile of the MDZ and getting us that sort of elevated perspective. And it's about attracting, hopefully this will be a hook for us to then attract further public and private sector investment because we've got that status as a zone. So that slide there just kind of really summarises what it is we're trying to do here. It is about generating economic growth and employment. It is also about homes and getting the right kind of retail, leisure, office, those commercial uses, and getting those in the right locations into Ashton. In terms of its location, I won't dwell on this slide too much because you all know where Ashton is in Tameside. I don't need to tell you guys that. But this slide is probably a little more helpful in that this shows you the boundary of the AMDZ in the orange. And then basically the AMDZ includes the projects of Ashton Moss, St. Petersfield, and then the town centre. And I'll come on to talk about those in a bit more detail. Clearly, Ashton is really well located. We're right on the M60 motorway. We've got tram links and we've got train links here. So Andy Burnham actually said at a recent board meeting that he thinks Ashton is the best connected town in Greater Manchester. So we've got great access and connections and location. And I think there's a lot for us to be exploited around that kind of eastern growth corridor between Ashton and Manchester. So some real great strengths for us here. In terms of the projects themselves, if we take Ashton Moss first, and you're all probably quite well aware of this site, but essentially this site is our most strategic employment site in the borough. It has been released from the Green Belt due to PFE being adopted, which is fantastic. And so now really it's about the council working with the landowners and the delivery partners at the site, plus with GMCA and our other public sector partners to bring that land forward now. And we very much see that's coming forward as an innovation park for advanced manufacture technologies. So we're in the process of working up a delivery strategy for the site. You can see there in the top circle, you've got the master plan for the site, which shows development in the brown. And then you've got that area of green space in the middle of the site where there's quite a large amount of horizons that came out of the M60 motorway when it was constructed. So probably that area can't necessarily be taken forward for development due to its cost, but we would see that coming forward as a high quality green space and the ability to sort of achieve linkages through the site and a nice an environment through which the innovation park can come forward. We think we've probably got the capacity at the site for about 100,000 square metres of commercial floor space, and the site overall is around 70 hectares. So a really big opportunity. We do see this in the context of timescales around this coming forward in the short to medium term. And I think when you look at other sites within sort of the Greater Manchester patch, this is something that can come to the market sooner than quite a number of the others for development. Then we have Ashton Town Centre. So clearly you'll all be aware, I'm sure, what we're wanting to bring forward there is a sustainable mix of uses in the future that create that sort of placemaking. The council's been successful in securing £20 million of levelling up funding. Quite a proportion of that is going towards the improvements to Ashton Market Square and the redevelopment. So we've seen an initial start on site with works there, and that programme is really going to start ramping up now, and with completion sort of probably around the autumn next calendar year for those works. We have also been successful in securing levelling up funding, and there's a town board arrangement now in place for that. So that will govern and come up with ideas about how that funding is spent. And then there is also work that myself and the team are undertaking around the longevity or how we see the shopping centres playing a role in the longer term within the town centre. And clearly what we want to make sure is that we're improving linkages between the town centre and our other parts of Ashton, including St Petersfield, for example. So we're looking for opportunities there to really integrate and make that town centre work as one. And then finally, as I touched on, St Petersfield. So the council has 9 sites in St Petersfield that it's looking to take to the market, and we will be doing that in September, October time via a framework, which already has sort of developers on that are expert in the kind of mixed use regeneration. So that plan just shows you a kind of a high level kind of layout, but what we're looking for in St Petersfield is for a mix of uses to come forward, including residential, maybe some office or grow on space for Ashton Old Baths, a mix of ground floor retail uses. And we really want to see a high quality kind of environment come forward there. So placemaking is really important. Clearly, we've got the linkages up to the tram and the train. So again, very well located, and we want to exploit that as much as possible. So we are going to be seeking a development partner to come along and work in partnership with the council to deliver a great scheme there, and really put St Petersfield on the map. And that's it.
Lovely, thank you very much, Nicola. Yes, very exciting times for Ashton-under-Lyne.
Yeah, it really is. Yeah,
it is, isn't it?
Yeah.
Anybody got any questions or comments for Nicola? I just think it's wonderful that Ashton's being developed like it is, Nicola. It's absolutely going to be wonderful, and I'm glad that we're keen to sort of forge links with the Ladysmith and and the arcades and stuff, because they are privately owned, aren't they? Both of them, are they still?
They are privately owned. You're absolutely right about that. Yeah,
I think we've always had a good relationship with the Ladysmith, haven't we? So
yes,
we've tried to work together, haven't we? So I can see that working very well.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think Councillor McLaren wants a question answering. Thanks, Councillor McLaren, or a comment.
I mean, I'm more than happy to give somebody else a chance as well, but it's just obviously this is something that's closer to my heart, if you like, than the other subjects. It's interesting, and it's part comment and part question, really. You can't really argue with the intellectual endeavour that's gone in behind these 3 schemes. It makes sense. It's been well thought through. You can clearly see that. I mean, what would be really useful, I think, is later on, not for the purposes of tonight, but how we can link these developments together. Because, for instance, you've got the out of town currently at the moment, like Marks and Spencers and IKEA and all that. and there seems to be an invisible barrier between those developments, which are very popular, and getting people into Ashton Town Centre. So I think that'd be interesting to see how the linkages come in. And then, of course, St. Petersfield as well, linking that into Ashton Town Centre in terms of to make it all work. I'm sure that's been thought through. But the final point I want to make, and then I'll shut up and let other people have a go as well, is obviously today Angela Rayner announced in Parliament the first tranche of what she wants to achieve with the house building and all the rest of it. It would be really interesting to get a feeling, without putting Nicola on the spot too much, about where she feels the best mix will be for private accommodation, affordable housing and social housing. And I don't expect it to be specific, Nicola. It's just principles really as to where you think that lies. Thank you.
Yeah, so I think you're right. It is about having a mix. And there is quite a lot of affordable housing that's around both St. Petersfield, I guess, and the town centre. Now we want to continue to see there being affordable homes that local people can access in these locations. So there will be an element of affordable housing that comes forward. I guess what we've got to think about is what other mixes might bring people in who are perhaps working in the city but living and spending their money in locally in Ashton. So there will, I'm sure, be private, the PRS market or build will be part of the mix, and alongside some affordable homes to come forward. So yeah, a mix of the two, probably more on the PRS side, I would say, probably than the affordable. Yeah.
Thank you, Nicola. Councillor Glover, I think you had your hand up next.
Yeah, thank you. It's to do with the Ashton Moss and that. With the demise of HS2, will that line remain intact? Because there's obviously talks and plans to just have the run up and down there with a depot on HM1.
Yeah. So at the moment, TFGM are still saying that they might require the site or part of the site for a depot. So we have agreed to kind of work jointly with TFGM and understand kind of their requirements and our requirements as we move forward. I think it still has quite a status in Northern Rail, if I've got the right name for that. So it might not be HS2, but that east-west connection is still remains important. So yeah, that's a continued conversation we're having with TFGM.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Glover. Any other questions or comments? Anybody wants to
come in, please, Chair?
Yeah, thank you.
I can't find my hand. Thanks for the presentation. That's really interesting. Could I ask, do we have any further plans to make the town hall usable? I know we've got funding for the roof, but what are the next steps to sort of get that back in use?
Yes, you're absolutely right about that. So what we're currently looking at is the options around that at the moment, and whether or not that building can be, refurbished, reconfigured, or whether actually we're looking at something, I guess, more of a facade retention, if you like, with a different kind of with a bill behind. So exactly in the way that the library, I think it's the library, isn't it, in Ashton? You have that. The facade was retained with the building behind. That could be something that we look at for Ashton Town Hall. So yes, my team are looking at that at the moment to come up with a viable option, really, because what it does come down to is the costs and what use do we want to put in that location, understanding, from a town centre point of view, what would work really well. So yeah, we are on with that.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Karim.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Nicola. Nice presentation, everything. On the Ashton development plan, is there any plan for the taxi rank near the tram station and near the bus station, please? So let me know, please. Thank you.
I'm afraid I don't know is the answer to that. So I would need to come back to you. I guess as part of the sort of how we're looking at the town centre, we need to understand how transport connectivity works. and kind of whether they're, I guess, longer term, whether that's the right location. It isn't something that is on my radar at the moment. So it's been picked up as an issue where we might be considering that at this very moment. But I can talk to colleagues and find out if there's anything further to add.
No worry. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Cream. Any other questions or comments? Anyone?
Guys, can I come in? But I'm still here.
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
Last one first. Nicola, I do know that the leader's been lobbied by the taxi drivers there, but it would sort of make sense, wouldn't it, if you've got, like, as Andy Burnham says, I was at that meeting, that, you know, you've got this a fully integrated transport network there, right in the centre, train, tram, bus, that actually a taxi, you know, route would then be linking, you know, people coming into the town, you know, coming off those, you know, those types of transport.
Yeah.
So I think, obviously, I think we might just, I'll be happy to be in the conversation, just might want to catch up with the leader where he's up to with that. And then the other one really is that I think what we said at previous, I couldn't make this last night's board, so I hope it went well, but it's having ambition for the town, having ambition for ourselves and raising the bar. Because I think what we said at you know, our previous meetings is we've got some really good post-16 education going on in Tameside College and Ashton Sixth Form, and those young people then go off onto university. But if we can employ them within the town, or at least get them somewhere where they could be employed, then that's obviously the transport bit sorted out. But actually, then if they could live in the town as well in good quality accommodation. Similar to, if I can say, how Staley Bridge is moving to, and I think that's been moving quite successfully. I think that's something really, Ashton, we really do need to have a look at. And going back to Councillor McLaren's point, really, is having that right mix of properties, because we do need it all. But it's actually, you know, it's trying to satisfy, especially what younger people said. I don't know what. One of the chairs of one of those boards said, Phil, a couple of meetings ago, he said, we sort of really got to ask the 13, 14-year-olds now about how they want the town to look like, because this is going to be their town, you know, in the future. So, so I think it's sort of taking all that into consideration. I think it's very exciting, but it's us as councillors to go out and sell this, but actually, and also, let's talk it up. Let's actually have some ambition. Let's not, if we get some money, then don't be saying what a waste of money that was. Let's actually say, well, you know, this is what really could be spent on. You know, So sorry, Chair, I must be still in holiday mode. So
no, that's
too much
fine.
sugar.
Oh yeah, Nicola, do you want to come back on those?
Yeah, absolutely right about that. And it is very much part of our thought processes and kind of the work that we're doing at the minute to understand what the use is within the town centre, including the shopping centres and the role that they will play going forward. We are going to have a, you know, redeveloped Market Square, and we absolutely want that to be used sort of in the daytime and in the evening time, don't we? And bringing young people into that environment is going to be key to that as well. So very much part of our live thinking.
Brilliant. Any other questions, anybody? Can't see any hands up. So can I just say thank you very much, Nicola, and thank you for your hard work, you and your team. If you can say our thanks to them. Got a buzz in Ashton that everybody's talking about, and that's what we like to hear, isn't it? So thank you very much for that. Have a good evening, what's left of it.
Thank you.
And we're on to, thank you. And we're on to item 6, which is the date of the next meeting, which, if you want to put in your diaries, is the 15th of October. So I'll see you all then. It just needs me to say thank you for everybody for their input, and have a lovely summer, lovely holiday if you're going on holiday too. So enjoy, and we'll see you soon, everybody.